Hi, welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Talk podcast. I'm your host, George Morales. We're going to talk about the top office leases of the second quarter 2025 as reported recently by CoStar. Now, let me temper your enthusiasm for those of you in New York and other larger markets. 45,000 square feet, that's going to be our top lease on this list of the quarter and one of the largest leases of the year. And yes, that is a significant size deal for Miami and for the South Florida market, but let's get right into it. Our top lease is from 200 South Biscayne Boulevard in Miami. This is downtown Miami. This is actually the top largest office building in the South Florida region, if not the entire Florida region. The property is over 1.2 million square feet, but this is a 45,000 square foot deal, and this was a renewal by WeWork, the brokers involved, Eric Groffman and Don Cartwright of CBRE. I didn't know Don Cartwright was still doing deals. That's a surprise for me, Don. Say hello. Give us a ring. They represented the landlord, Matthew Goodman. Jeff Gordon of CBRE represented the tenant. So you see why CBRE is posting some nice profits this last quarter. And gung-ho, here they work both sides of the deal. Now, I would argue that probably not the best situation in terms of conflict of interest. If you're a tenant, you really don't want to have a broker representing both sides of the deal. But in this case, the deal got done. WeWork renewal, 45,000 square feet on the 20th and 23rd floor of Southeast Financial. All right, here's our second largest deal. It was 33,827 square feet. A new lease by MSC Cruises USA. This is from Fort Lauderdale, 6451 North Federal Highway. Brokers involved, Deanna Lebinsky, Chase Cope of Cushman & Wakefield, representing the landlord, Alan Kleber, Tyler Reynolds, and Scott Quick of Cushman & Wakefield representing the tenant. This is our second time that we see a national firm representing both sides of the equation, both the landlord and the tenant. Again, not an ideal situation. I would argue that this is a conflict of interest, but nonetheless, MSC Cruises leased space owned by Somerset Properties. Here we go. Another top lease, 30,596 square feet. Another renewal. This is also Fort Lauderdale, 110 Southeast 6th Street. I used to have offices in this location when I was with JLL. Tenant was Tripp Scott Attorneys at Law. Brokers involved, Jared Goodstein and Jonathan Kingsley of Colliers represented the landlord. Interesting. No comment about Tripp Scott's tenant advisory role, so perhaps they didn't have one. Perhaps this was a direct deal. Again, not an ideal situation because Jared Goodstein and Jonathan Kingsley represent the landlord, not the tenant. So let's go on. Our top lease here, number 3 or 4 here, is 25,205 square feet. This is from the Oco Group. This is in Miami, 95 Northwest 29th Street. This is a 298,000 square foot building here in the Wynwood Market area. Brian Gale, Ryan Holtzman, Andrew Trench, Eddie Quinion, Lena Weeks, and Jeanette Mendoza of Cushman & Wakefield represented the landlord. Again, now this one they worked both sides, but that's okay because Oco Group is the owner and the landlord and the tenant. So I wonder if they got paid a full fee on a deal where they represented their own client. Oco Group, if you're not familiar, they're a Russian group that also built 830 Brickell Plaza, the very successful high $200 square foot Class A office property that was the last building built in the Brickell market. And that's their team. That's a lot of mouths to feed right there. Let's continue. We're almost done with this list. Another top lease here, same building. Amazon took 25,205 square feet at 95 Northwest 29th Street here in Wynwood. Amazon, again, Brian Gill and team of Cushman & Wakefield represented the landlord, and Tom Capocephalo of Savills represented the tenant. So more ideal situation for Amazon to have a broker that's not conflicted, that doesn't also represent the landlord. Even better yet is to have a broker that doesn't represent landlords because there's potential for conflict of interest. Now, Amazon signed a 10-year lease on the 3rd floor of Wynwood Plaza, adding to its existing 50,333 square feet. So they're over now 75,000 square feet on the 4th and 5th floors of this new project in Wynwood. All right, back to downtown Miami. 2 South Biscayne Boulevard, 23,092 square feet. Alvarez and Marsal. This is a new lease represented by Brian and Ryan's team from Cushman & Wakefield. And again, the mention here of, David Dusek and Kevin Landers of Cushman & Wakefield representing the tenant. Now, you see this theme, and this is a problem, and this is why we are here at Blue Box Real Estate and other independent firms, and that's these large deals are going to the national firms thinking they're getting the best tenant advisory representation. And all the while, in my opinion, this is a tremendous conflict of interest when these national firms keep representing both the tenant and the landlord on both sides of the equation. So I'm sure Kevin Landers and David Dusek did the best job they could, but Alvarez and Marsal might have been better suited by going with another firm, even a boutique firm, to give them no conflict full tenant advisory services. Just my opinion. Top lease, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. This is a new lease, 23,019 square feet. Foley and Lardner, Eric Groffman, Cameron Talon, Randy Carballo represented the landlord. This must be no mention here about a tenant advisory group. So Foley and Lardner, national law firm with international presence, signed a 5-year triple net lease. Okay, no mention about the tenant rep broker. 600 Brickell Avenue, 21,355 square foot renewal. Tenant was Gunster. Gunster was, let's see here, brokers involved. Eileen Munez of Elm Springs. So that's the kind of the in-house wing of 600 Brickell Avenue. Shea Pope, Carlisle, and Greg Katz of Stream Realty Partners represented tenant. Stream, kind of a newer national firm growing in this market. And again, here, more of an equitable situation where you have a landlord representing itself or having its own in-house leasing agent and a tenant rep broker representing the tenants. You need those Chinese walls there in order to have really the best case scenario. All right, let's keep going. A couple more, just 2 more. Going to West Palm Beach. So you say West Palm Beach, all this market in tension, all these folks leaving the Northeast. What's going on in West Palm Beach? Well, here's your largest deal of the quarter. It's 525 Okeechobee Boulevard, 21,160 square foot. And this was the sublease. Taft Law. Thomas Capocephalo of Savills represented the sub-lessor in this case. Derek Baker of Colliers represented the sub-tenant. Taft Law is a national law firm. Sublease space at City Place Office Tower in downtown Palm Beach. Okay, so I'm not sure who the subtenant was. And lastly, over here at Miami Tower, if you're very familiar with this building here, it defines the Miami skylines in many ways. 100 Southeast 2nd Street, downtown Miami. 11,504 square feet makes this list. This is a new lease by Littler Mendelson, PC. Gordon Messenger, Randy Carballo of CBRE represented the landlord, and Jessica Reyes, Zach Wendelin, and Adam Bernstein of JLL represented the tenant. Much better situation. Littler Mendelson is an international law firm focused on labor and employment law with access across the U.S., Latin America, and Europe. That's what we have for today. Top leases in South Florida in order from 45,000 to 11,000 square feet. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe if you want to keep up to date with all commercial real estate news from the Commercial Real Estate Talk podcast. Good day.